Hello guys and girls, and welcome to episode 174 of the F.Reality Podcast. Gather round for a big VR group hug and snuggle in tight as we discuss this week's top VR news. We're going to be talking about Gorn finally coming to Oculus Quest. I give you the lowdown on Oculus Quest multi-user accounts and app sharing. We have a new VR headset purely designed for social VR called the Unai, and we'll give you our best VR picks from CES 2021. To round up the show, Zimmer's got some new releases for you to look forward to next week. But for now, let me introduce you to the team and find out what's been their highlight of the week this week. Also, let us know what you played in the chat so we can read out some of your highlights too. First up, they say in space, no one can hear you scream. I've heard this guy scream in space more times than I can count. It's VR Screamer Zimtok 5. How you doing, dude? You're right.
I guess I kind of with the little tweet video this week, I kind of stuck true to my roots with that. I've been watching a lot of horror films lately, so I felt inspired and did a little thing from. You got to see the inside of Zim's closet, which I don't think anyone's ever seen before. So there you go.
Any horror recommendations?
Oh God!
After your last ones with what was it, Midsummer, and I'm dubious about checking these out.
Yeah,
there's one. With them.
There's one perfect for you influencers out there on Netflix, and I'll reference this later in something I bring up. Spree on Netflix. I would recommend that. I've seen this rideshare one. You've seen that one, Mike? What'd you think of that?
I've seen this one. Yeah, it's pretty.
I've seen it as well, but is it on Netflix as well? Because
it's on Netflix for free now. Yeah.
Yeah, for free.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Where'd you see it, Rowdy? Just in the blue.
I don't even remember where I saw it. Can it be on Amazon Prime?
Yeah, it's on Amazon Prime.
Yeah. Good one anyway. So it's nice. It's kind of like a comedy / horror film targeted on influencers and stuff. So Spree was good.
Yeah, it's pretty well done.
Good week. Good week. Sorry for the slight late start here today. As you can see, we've got a special guest on as well. It wasn't his fault. It was something else. And you might know we've got a little bit of Crunchy Mike with us. We tried to get rid of that, but if you're hearing that on the live stream, those of you, well, you've met him before. You've met Crunchy Mike before. You're gonna have to put up with it today. So it is what it is.
Blame Zoom.
Blame Zoom. My week was pretty good. I think from a highlights perspective, I probably would have to just call out two short things. So I played Squadrons again. I got to fly in the new fighters and stuff, and that was loads of fun. Actually, the new bomber, I guess it's a bomber or a support class ship, is really sweet to fly in. Great cockpit, good visibility and stuff. So if anyone hasn't caught the latest Squadrons patch, go back and take care of that. And then the second thing I got a chance to play, although I haven't finished it yet, is just like a 30-minute little like VR animated film called Battle Scar on Oculus Quest, which is really cool. If you're into music, there's not a lot that we've gotten so far that's into punk. I'll cover this in releases a little bit later, so I'll stay shy on the details for now. But I found that to be really nice, and it's another one from this publisher called Atlas V, who've done some amazing other titles. So between those two, I've had fun. A little bit light on the VR gaming this week. 2021 is still beating me up, but I'm kind of getting excited for it now. So CES and talking about all that should light our fires again.
Nice. You're warming yourself up. Yeah. Well, apologies for my mic throughout the stream. I don't know what it is. We've tried to fix it. It is definitely internet related. It's not local. It doesn't appear in my local recording. So that we tried to fix it before the stream. That's why we were late. It's my fault. So apologies if it's bad. But there's not much I don't think I can do really live. But anyway, let's roll with it. Let's see what happens. Next up, this guy, when he gets angry, you know you're in for trouble. He loves to smash things up. And you just know that this guy has a Gorn Hub premium account. It's the one and only Rowdy VR. How you doing, dude?
I'm doing fine, dude. Like indeed, like my Gorn Hub premium still hasn't expired, so
good to hear.
I probably have to dive back into that game one time. But no, I've been great. I think my highlight of the week has been last Sunday when I joined the Lonely Viper and Simply Chris on a stream of Pavlov. Mm-hmm. Good things and bad things happened. I'll start with the bad things. We kept on getting joined in lobbies with people who were, like those team killers. Like they keep on like spawning and they're just dropping grenades and like there's a problem with the kick system in Pavlov up until like everyone agrees up to kick something or to kick someone. Before that point, like the person doesn't get removed from it, which is kind of annoying since if you have like 8 or 9 people voting. then
It's like the American voting system, isn't it? Yeah.
You still don't get them out, which is really annoying, and the karma system is not really in place there. And I just hope that with future updates they can probably address that. But I got to try the new update very extensively. I don't know how anyone got anything done during World War II driving around in those tanks, because bloody heck, that's hard. It's so hard to be driving because you have these levers that steer forward and backwards, and you need to use different kind of movements in order to operate the tank. It took me a while to figure it out. I partly blame Chris for that, because he was shouting in my ear the entire time, "What are you doing, Rowdy? Get your act together!" Yeah. So that was fun. And then the weapons, I think they're just brilliant. That entire World War II vibe is works really, really well. I still like the game a lot. I know that the Lonely Viper is not the biggest fan of Pavlov, but I do like it. It's a more of a, I would say a more chill kind of shooter game, rather than the really tactical things that we have with Onward, and to a certain extent with Contractors as well. It's just fun. I like that.
The most important question I have is did they nail the ping of the M1 Garand when the sort of clip pings out? Because they didn't get that right in Medal of Honor.
They still don't have it right.
First, but I think
even after they're fixed, they didn't.
I thought they patched it.
Yeah, it's louder, but it's still not as good. It's not enough in my opinion.
Not satisfying.
No. Yeah, it's just not. It's so many games have gotten that right. Battlefield used to have a great ping.
But is it actually they got it right, or they got it exaggerated so it feels cool?
I don't know. I'm not a gun
I think
connoisseur.
Mike wants to hear it more, right?
I want to hear it more.
But I know that it was noisy because there was something that they were they were using actually the Germans to know when they were reloading the Americans, because they get a ping, and so okay, now it's time we shoot. I know that was a thing, but so it was a problem. But was that loud, or I don't know?
It's quite loud. If you watch YouTube videos of it, it's pretty loud. So hopefully they got it. They got it in the game right.
I think that the sound design in Pavlov is has always been quite well done. But I think that the major improvement here has been the visuals. The visuals now look absolutely stunning, and particular some kind of maps the Office kind of map. It's it looks absolutely gorgeous now with those with those scenes in the city now that you can see. It's the visuals have been improved a lot.
Nice. I wonder when this game is eventually going to release on Quest, because it's been available on SideQuest for a while now, but I guess development is still taking some time. But yeah, it's a quality game. I still haven't tried out the new update, but I'm definitely looking forward to getting into it.
So eager, and those tanks, the tank commands, the controls are totally bonkers. But that's how real tank controls are. It's not easy. It's learning to fly a chopper is really hard. Learning to drive a tank is hard. It's not easy. But can you imagine if you were one of these people who was recruited at the age of 20? Sent off to war and told to steer one of these things? My God, at least give you something
you
can
didn't even have
use.
a driving license, but they were giving you a tank to control. Yeah, that's pretty insane. But anyway,
those times.
Go check out the World War II update from Pavlov. So next up, standing in for Nathy this week, is the Italian stallion of VR. The main man when it comes to VR and AR tech on YouTube is, of course, Tyriel Wood, good friend of the show. How you doing, dude? You all right?
Hey, thanks for having me. It's always an honor. It's great to talk with you guys. I'm sorry I'm taking the native spot, but it's having fun in holidays, so good vacations.
That's true.
So super excited. This week was pretty busy. I was in a virtual Las Vegas. On the website for an entire week, checking out CES stuff. I don't know,
it's kind of a bit disappointing, right? Because I feel like, and we're going to touch into this more later on, but I feel like a lot of the stuff that was announced isn't there isn't any consumer ready stuff, so it's nothing that's really going to be on the horizon anytime soon. So kind of all stuff that's kind of on the back burner being developed right now.
It's nice to see new tech being developed, companies pushing on different stuff that we don't have yet. But yeah, there was nothing to say like, okay, from tomorrow I can buy it, from tomorrow I can look forward to it and stuff like that. So it was a little particular, and I'm still waiting for the moment when we can actually attend like in VR a conference. Like that is my dream, because this year, last year, and this year as well, we learned that it's like we are gonna have to find ways to also be able to do stuff like remotely. And CES like really felt like being in front of YouTube an entire day. Like it was look for the a little more complicated. Just look for like the video that you're interested in and stuff, and then the only difference is like you have the context there as well. But it will be super cool to actually like walk. With the tech we have right now, it's completely possible be able to walk in a virtual environment and having people presenting like the thing. You know, like if you consider VR chat, if you consider Outspace VR, you can even Rec Room, like you can attend even if you don't have a VR headset. So it will be much more engaging, I think, to have like talk with somebody, be able to meet, and then like actually, you know, have a real contact, physical contact, even if it's not physical, with somebody. So I feel like it's always like a kind of missed opportunity lately with this. But let's face it, we are not mainstream yet. So that's probably the problem. But on E3, there was an application that was super cool to attend E3 in a game. There was like actually a shooter. I don't remember who made that. The guys from... did you guys try that application? Because actually Nate told me about it. And so I tried that game. And they recreated entire E3 pavilion. And you could go through the stands and stuff and see all their new games like they were like at E3.
Oh, it was a Devolver Digital one, wasn't it? I do remember now. I can't remember who what it was called though. I can't remember exactly what it was, but yeah, that was
cool
pretty
to have
smart.
Something like that in VR, you know? It would be amazing.
It's that scale, that like network code limiter that you seem to have. Like they don't do large scale, like hundreds and hundreds of users in a virtual environment right now very well. They can do the 40, 50 instances on a box, you know, on a Blade server, fine. And that's great. But the instancing doesn't capture the same feeling of like a big crowd, like a large music event, a large convention hall. And there's something about that feckin' energy that's just infectious. Like you,
totally.
When you feel like the energy. It's like electricity, you know. And it doesn't matter if you don't know the people or whatever. You only end up talking to a couple of them. You still get this vibe, that hum. And then like when there's a big announcement or a big release, it's great. Provided it's not Diablo on mobile or something, then that's terrible. Otherwise, you know, it's like something to really be excited about. Yeah, you know, it's a real human experience, and they haven't been able to capture that yet properly.
But I have to say though, I had an epiphany like when I was at a Microsoft event on Outspace and an HoloLens event, and we were like instances of like 40 people each group. But then after the event, they opened like a big room for like people just chill and connect to each other. And then I moved to that room and I saw like people like starting to assemble like in groups like of 6 people, you know. At the end, like that's how it works. Like, what you do, and then you're like 6, 8 people, and that's enough. And like all small group talking with each other, and that was like, wow, this works. Like I actually felt like I was after an event. You know, the event didn't feel like they're right. If I like you said, I completely agree. But the after event, when you actually start to connect and talk with people, that was perfection. And that was like, wow, that this is like, it can be the future. So
and Outspace looks way better now as well than it did before. But also, I suppose at least, you know, it saved your wallet a little bit. Going to Las Vegas can be quite pricey, I hear. Going to the old casinos, unless you've got the slot machines up on your desktop at the same time as well for the true CES experience. But it's great to have you on the show, though. Obviously, if you're in the chat and you're missing Nathy, he's away on holiday at the moment. He's just going somewhere local with his brother to enjoy a bit of the countryside. And he's going to be away this week and next week, but he'll be back after that if you miss him. So that is what's going on with Nathy. Let's see what the chat have been up to. Have they been up to much? Anything that they've been sharing?
Yeah,
let's have a little look.
the thing that I've been seeing a lot is that people have been playing Doom 3 on Quest. So Baroque Dub has been playing Doom 3 on Quest. I saw that Paradise Decay also is playing Doom 3, and he also tried out Battlefront 2 in VR with Vorpex. And he wanted to point out that it's currently also free on the Epic Games Store. So if people haven't picked that one up yet, I'd surely do so, because you could try it out with Vorpex if you really want to do it in VR. Then we have Pete Shirey. He played Brass Tactics, Sword of Gura, and Flat Gaming he played as well. He played some Yakuza Like a Dragon. I saw Wata Yuke. He played Squadrons together with Zim. And the other Sunday Squad Boys. So that was another one. Dash Warhammer and Medal of Honor was Dave the Psycho. I saw people also playing Lambda 1. And
wow.
Yeah.
One person was asking, is that snow in the background?
Yeah.
Yes, that is indeed a lot of snow with snow dropping here. But yeah, I mean, a lot of people have been playing a lot of different kinds of things, but I think the things that really got pointed out was that, Doom 3, like we talked about last time, is something that people have been enjoying this past week.
Yeah, definitely. I still haven't tried that yet either. I've had a pretty busy week. I've been playing around with a Shadow PC. I've kind of hinted at this on the show before, where I've talked about, being able to remotely play PC VR content on your Quest 2 or Quest from a cloud PC. And in my case, it was a cloud PC in a data center in Paris, which is like 300 miles from me, where I live near London. And it worked pretty well. Obviously, the one big concern I had was latency, but I was actually quite surprised that I got it down to like between sort of 50 and 90 milliseconds playing remotely on that PC, which was totally playable. But I think what I'll do is I'll talk more about that on an episode in the future, where I can give it a bit more time and sort of talk about how I got that set up and stuff. But other than that, I also tried Battlescar, which Zim mentioned. And I also tried Baba Yaga, which both of them are kind of like short, immersive VR stories. So if you like that kind of thing, definitely go and check those two out. They both launched on Quest this week. I particularly enjoyed Baba Yaga only because it kind of was more interactive. You had some elements where you can actually interact with the story, so you feel more a part of it. And also it had multiple endings as well, so it kind of encouraged you to play through it at the ending a couple of times, which they do in a smart way. And also, I didn't realize this, but they actually have voice acting from Kate Winslet, Jennifer Hudson, and Daisy Ridley, which is pretty incredible, really. So yeah, it's great to see that immersive VR storytelling is getting better and better, and they're really starting to leverage what VR has to offer to make these experiences really, really nice. So if you like immersive storytelling, definitely go and check those two out.
Yeah, I think that's it's one of those things that VR does really well. And for people who are like standard odd gamers coming into VR, I feel like this is the part of like indie, like Tribeca Film Festival films, and you finally get a taste of that. So I think your standard gamer's first reaction will probably be like, isn't that pricey to spend 5, 10, 15 pounds for a relatively short experience? But if you're looking for short and sweet and quite like artsy craftsy, those things can be really neat. And while maybe not being so replayable, you'd probably watch them a couple of times, you'd be done. If you have family to share with, especially with a portable device like a Quest, easy to pass it around, But I think that stuff is great. Yeah. It really is for the artist, or like for the art connoisseur. And I mean that for people who like film or comic books or whatever else, because VR really does some special stuff with that.
Yeah, and if you're looking for another excellent one, Wolves in the Walls is one of my favorites. So definitely go check that out.
I like that.
So before we get into the news this week, I want to say thank you to the sponsor of this week's podcast, and that is our good friends over at SynthRiders. They've sponsored the show before, and they wanted to come back, so we welcomed them with open arms. And if you're not familiar with SynthRiders, it's a unique VR rhythm game from Kluge Interactive. And what sets SynthRiders apart from other VR music rhythm games is that it encourages you to sort of freestyle dance and just kind of let loose and get into the music. And you can do this kind of solo on your own, or you can ride the rails with other people online in this excellent online multiplayer that they've got. They've just released their new Essentials Pack 2 music pack, and that features 3 free tracks and 5 paid tracks, which include 2 tracks from Muse, which are The Dark Side and Algorithm. And I tried these out this morning, and Algorithm, they've done a fantastic job with that. It's like a completely unique environment that kind of evolves as you go through it. It's a really cool experience, so if you enjoy SynthRiders, I'd highly recommend Algorithm, which is part of the SynthRiders Essential Pack 2. And if you want to check out SynthRiders, it's available now on Steam, Oculus Rift, and Quest, and links are in the description down below. So there you go. Thank you to them, our sponsor.
Gotta love it. Yeah, absolutely.
So let's get straight into the news then. The first bit of news this week is going to be great if you're looking to blow off a little steam in VR, as Gorn finally has a release date on the Oculus Quest. Now, after teasing a screenshot from the Quest version this week, the developers FReeLives announced the port, which is being handled by 24-bit Games, will be launching in just a couple of weeks on the 28th of January. If you have no idea what Gorn is, it's basically like a fun gladiator simulator where you take on increasingly challenging waves of combatants in an arena with hilarious kind of physics-based combat. You have like tons of different weapons. You have swords, hammers, Wolverine claws, maces, just to name a few, and you kind of take down your opponents to please the bloodthirsty crowd above the arena. It's a classic VR title. Pretty much everyone's played it who's been into VR for a long time. And probably destroyed something in their house as a result of playing it. So what about you guys? Are you big Gorn fans?
Yeah, I remember playing this game before it even came to Steam, when it came out on itch.io. That's the first time that I played it. Before it was this like huge hit, and I mean back then I immediately fell in love with it, especially because we didn't have something like that in VR yet, where you had this like gladiator style kind of fight with this wacky, but kind of still like feel good physics. It feels like you're actually hitting something, and you need to put some power behind that, which I think the developer did really well. And then it just went from there, like that simple concept. It just took it to the next level by adding these like weird kind of weapons and even weirder physics. And the game is great. I think it's a fantastic kind of game, and I definitely destroyed quite a few things playing it. I know my light fixture, that one got destroyed. I think I destroyed as well. Well, I mean, a controller probably as well. When I hit a wall, I have a few dents from it in the wall as well. So.
Gorn's bloody dangerous. Gorn should come with a hazard warning. I mean, if there's a single title that's done, I think, more damage.
They do. If you look at their Twitter feed, I believe they keep like a count of like how many TVs that they've already destroyed.
Absolutely, and it's like a graveyard. It's like a freaking graveyard. I have a very unfortunate staircase in my room, because there's a staircase under my office, and so it's just this kind of weird wooden step, and I full force punched like straight down into that. I literally thought my fist was broken for about 3 months. Never got it x-rayed. Maybe it was broken. I don't know. But like, this game is absolutely dangerous. I mean, even if you're careful in your environment, be careful with Gorn. This is what my Twitter warning was about. Gorn is going to destroy something in your place. And if you give it to a new player and they're like, oh, it's my first time in VR and I don't know what I'm doing, they're going to hurt something or somebody or themselves. So just be mindful. I mean, Gorn is loads of fun. I liked the fact that they redeveloped it and redesigned it, and they got a whole kind of tiered system, bunch of different game modes. But I don't know. If you're up for like proper over the top gladiator action, then I think you can't do better than this. I mean, even just checking in that trailer, I didn't know that you could stab someone in the heart and pull their heart out. Like, there's other stuff you do, which is just evil. And the fact that you're being goaded on by these robed gentlemen, looking at you, looking down upon you as you're a gladiator. It's mad. And then they've got that, it's not even, like, Boneworks I would say is janky physics. In Gorn, you've got like rubbery physics. It's the weapons are all weirdly rubbery, right?
It works really well.
It does, yeah. But like when you've got like a spear and you feel like it's like a warbly spear and you're like stabbing people with it. I mean, the mace has to be my favorite but like when you've got like 3-4 guys coming down at you, it can be quite an intense experience. It's not like an easy game. You're not just like going to town.
It's a total workout.
I
think my favorite is still like the giant hammer. Like a giant, massive hammer. Like, I love that one.
And I think the other thing is, because it's like room scale, I think that's the problem. People just get lost in their room, and then because, like you say, the combat is so intense, next thing you know, they're just smashing their like room to pieces, and that's exactly what they show in this original trailer. And I'd love them to remake that trailer on the Quest, but I don't think Oculus would allow it. It kind of just does promote exactly what's going to happen.
I know that the first night that my dad played it, and he was like, trying stuff out, but I didn't know he was already in the game. I thought he just put the headset on. He just flat out punched me in the face.
Maybe he did it on purpose.
Maybe.
It is a great excuse if you want to hit a loved one. You just put Gorn on and be like, oh, I didn't see you there. I did not say that. I did not say that.
Dave, go on.
Sorry. No,
I was going to say.
I have to say. Oh, God.
I was going to say, Dave the Psycho asks, "Is it pure room scale, no locomotion?" No, there is like artificial locomotion as well, so you don't have to rely on room scale only.
Yeah.
But go on, Tyriel, what was you going to say?
No, I was saying that, with what Zim was saying, Gorn was like my game to give people to start in VR because like you don't have to explain much, you have just to blah blah blah.
You're a bad man.
I did it for 3 times. And then they broke one of my controller. They punched the fridge. I have to give them ice for an entire night when they were there, like friends there. And the other time again, like ice because they punched the wall. So I was like, okay, this is not for people to start.
Yeah, I can't believe it. I can't believe it. I literally was joking when I said that it would be the thing that you'd put someone like new in. Like I couldn't imagine someone doing that. The fact that you've done it and you learned that lesson, I find very, very comical. But please learn from T's bad example. Bad example.
No,
Definitely.
but I have to say they all had super fun because this game is like ton of fun. You really get immersed. Like there are many games where it's hard to get immersed still right now in VR. Like you say, oh yeah, I'm playing a video game. In Gorn, like your brain switches. Like you're completely like, okay, I'm in battle. And then like something you break something. So
they had a lot of fun, but they've got the scars to prove it. And the funny thing is, D1360 VR reminded me in the chat that there is a subreddit on Reddit called VR to ER.
That's amazing.
And he's right. This is going to spike with all these people playing Gorn. So all I'd say is Gorn is coming to the Quest on the 28th of January. We'll remind you again in releases the week prior before it drops. But we're going to say just be careful playing this game because you're likely to hurt yourself or you will. So make sure you get the boundary system on and protect anything that's got any value to it. Yeah, that's
the boundary
within
system,
your
like
reach,
1 meter from the actual wall.
Space it out. Yeah, space it out. This is
Definitely.
like the importance of the Guardian or whatever boundary system you have on your VR headset is like you don't realize how well designed it is until you use an app that doesn't do a good job of it. There's a side quest app called Custom Room Mapper on Quest where you can map your entire house.
I remember you talking about this before.
But you have to disable the standard Guardian, and then it's got its own Guardian. The problem with its Guardian is it has drift. So it means you map your entire room, and so it's got the perfect model of your room, and then your room starts to rotate virtually. But your real room doesn't. So the place where you think is a doorway is a wall, and you walk into a wall or whatever. It's like the fact that the Quest can not just the Quest, right? All the VR headsets, but they can do such a good job of following the boundary. That's important.
The problem that I have with Gorn though is that as soon as I'm in battle, I see red, and I don't see the blue Guardian anymore. Everything is just red, and I just walk and smash through everything.
Yeah, T described that really well.
That's the problem.
You know what? This is the perfect. Mike, do you mind if I take an interlude before your next tale in the weekly news category?
Go for it.
So we said we might spice things up a little bit in stories from Reddit and stuff. So I've dove back in time to bring you something from 3 years ago that I think will be poignant to just, especially for new users, to hear this right now. So, from the Telegraph Agency of the Soviet Union. So since 1904, TASS, T-A-S-S, has been Russia's leading news agency. And for more than 113 years, TASS has ceaselessly strived to deliver the latest and most accurate news. From TASS to Reddit to PCGamer.com, an article written on December 22nd, 2017. According to preliminary information, while moving around the apartment in virtual reality glasses, the man tripped and crashed into a glass table, suffered wounds, and died on the spot from a loss of blood, said Yulia Ivanova, senior assistant to the head of the Russian Investigative Committee's main Moscow department, according to TASS. The report does not include details about the type of VR headset the man was using or what he was using it for. He was 44 years old. This Moscow resident died after falling through a glass table wearing a VR headset. It's a story that many of us on this podcast have heard
It's
before.
true. It's actually true.
This is a true story.
I didn't even know they had Gorn back there. Unbelievable.
And 3 years ago, this happened. Now, to my knowledge, there hasn't been a VR Darwin Award since. But I do warn you, and I predicted this when we were talking about 2021, is that I think we're going to catch another one this year. So don't let it be you. I know that Russia's out front, and just like the old Russia versus the US race to the moon, I'm sure the Americans are going to be just chomping at the bit, wanting to be the first one to die in VR for America. Don't let it be you. And if you're from another country, don't let it be you either. So there you go. That's
do send in your submissions for the F.Reality VR Darwin Award.
But like I remember vividly talking about it on the podcast because it was the first person, like you say, to die in VR, which was, you know, unusual in itself. So I remember talking about it when the news broke back then. But yeah, please just be careful in VR, particularly with games like Gorn, because it is just asking for trouble.
Technically, he didn't really die in VR unless he kept his headset on while he was, you know, on the ground there laying, which I don't think he did. I do think that he took his headset off after that. I think so.
So there we go.
Yeah, well, all I'm going to say is rest in peace, man who died first, so that all the rest of us don't. But yeah, I would caution Gorn. I would caution other games like Racket NX. I already had a casualty on my side. My dad bashed his hand up through that. So just be careful. Sporty games or combat games are some of the worst because, like what Rowdy said and T just before him, you get into that frenzy of like, oh, I'm in a different world and I'm totally safe. You're totally not. That's it. That was the spot.
Look after yourself.
Look after yourselves, please.
So next bit of news then. Let's get into this. This is Oculus Quest multi-user accounts and app sharing. Now, this has been announced a while ago. It was when Oculus first kind of introduced the Facebook accounts requirement. And they said this was coming, and this was kind of like a sweetener to that kind of like bitter pill that, you know, this was going to enable easier sharing of the headset. So this week in a developer post, Oculus stated that these features will be rolling out next month and kind of explained in a bit more detail how they're going to work. So it can be a bit complicated, so you kind of pin your ears back a little bit. So firstly, multi-user accounts will allow the ability of multiple Facebook accounts to log into a single headset, which makes sense. And then on top of that, you have app sharing, which will allow the primary user of that headset to share apps with others on that shared device. So how this will work is that the primary account holder will be able to add up to 3 secondary Facebook accounts to their device to share apps that they've purchased. Game progress and achievements will be saved separately for each account, which is pretty awesome. So no one's going to mess up your game save, which is great. So just to kind of like lay it down, for example, if Tyriel, Zim, and Rowdy lived with me, God forbid, they could log into my Quest with their own Facebook accounts, and I could share my game library with them, and they would all have their own game saves, which is pretty sweet. Now, this is where things get a little bit more complicated. So secondary users, if you've logged into a primary user's account, will be able to purchase their own apps and games on the shared headset. However, these won't be available to the primary user, okay? That will just be tied to their own account. App sharing in the future will allow the primary user to share apps with up to 3 other devices, but they will have to be the primary user on each device with secondary accounts added. Games currently on the store now will automatically opt in for app sharing, but developers can opt out of this functionality if they wish. So that means that some multiplayer games might opt out of this functionality, forcing households with multiple headsets to buy multiple copies of the same game to play together. Now, right now, if you have multiple headsets in your house, multiple Quests, you can log into those headsets using a single account and play some games that support like single account multiplayer. Walkabout Mini Golf is a good example of this, where you could have like 4 headsets in your household, all using one account, all playing online at the same time. However, if you opt into app sharing, this will no longer be available, and you'll have to have a secondary account for each headset. So this is like Zim's like scenario, because like you've talked about this before, like account sharing and stuff like that. How do you see this? Do you see yourself enabling app sharing to have like secondary accounts? Because the problem is, if your secondary accounts are kids and they're not of the age of 13 and they can't create a Facebook account, then that in itself is problematic, right? Which is exactly your scenario.
This update, although we're now on the path to what I think is the right model, call it the Steam, app sharing model, I'm very reluctant, because the games that I enjoy multi-app sharing with are natively supported. It's not platform level. And like Walkabout Mini Golf, this to an extent challenges that or kind of mucks that up. So I will most likely hold off for a month or two before I go into the realm of, and wait for kind of the update to come. I want to see them do what they've said is coming, which is this, multi-device, I'll call it app propagation feature, which I think is really helpful. Right now, it's a little bit too confused, because think about it this way. If you have headsets that are all a single user at the moment, and you have this secondary account login, although it helps you, you're getting something and you're losing something. And so you have to answer for yourself, what are the main apps you're using? How are they affected by this? And then just draw that line. And before now, you didn't have that. You just don't have that feature. And then, so it's making this environment for app sharing convoluted. But I think we're on the right path. So I do thank the developers for bringing this. I think right now it's not probably enticing enough to pull me away from the way I'm currently using the headsets. But I think we'll get there in a couple of months. So I'm going to be sitting in the waiting bucket personally.
I think it's mainly going to affect people with multiple headsets in their household that play with their family. I think are going to be confused and unsure which way to go. If you're someone like me that just has like a single headset and your wife wants to log in and play a game, then actually this functionality is very useful. But like you say, in Zim's situation, it's not so much.
This is the best equivalent that I would mention is this is like a Switch or a Netflix account level sharing. So it's like, I don't want to have my wife, for example, muck with my save file. Like, for example, my wife has said this to me. She's like, I don't want you to be, using my account to play with the kids because they could mess with my Beat Saber scores. And she wants to keep that virgin. So I think for anyone who's at that stage where it's like we're sharing a single headset and we're playing a game, or we're sharing multiple headsets to where they're going next, it makes a lot of sense. If you don't have that and you just want to play multiplayer games together, for the moment, your best bet really is get 2 or X legitimate accounts, get them separate headsets, right, and play that way. And if you're, El Cheapo, or you're playing with kids or something, then you just have your primary account and multiple devices, and you use that account across them. But it's quite a small number of games and apps, which you can find on Reddit, by the way. There's a great list there of games and apps that support multi-user account sharing.
Yeah. I think that the thing is, like, games like Population 1 are very unlikely to allow app sharing, with multiple users in your household. I think that's going to be they're going to be the ones that opt out. And I think Onward, games like that potentially will be the same as well. But we'll just have to see, because we don't know for sure which developers are opting in and which ones are opting out right now. Also, it's worth noting that this is only going to be launched on Oculus Quest 2 to start with, and then it will come to all other Quest owners in the future.
That's an interesting feature. This is funny because we're starting to see, we first started to see devs pushing, obviously, their updates, making use of the new hardware. Now we're seeing Oculus kind of testbed features on Quest 2.
Yep.
I wonder if that's because of the performance headroom needed to... There's probably not much headroom needed on this, I would think to
so.
save locally. Yeah,
I don't think it's related to performance.
I don't think it's... So, go on.
You can actually... do already kind of a multi-account on the Quest using like the Google settings and stuff. And from my understanding, it works exactly like you described. So you have the primary account that has the account holder, so with all the the games and stuff. And then if you log in with another account, you can use the main account games, but the saves will be on your account. Now,
that's right. Yeah.
So it's pretty much the same. Now, the thing that I would like to see, though, is like a guest account. Why I can't have a guest account, but I have to have another account, like I don't want to use Facebook for like if someone comes over, I don't want to ask them to like to go on Facebook and log in on my Facebook thing and stuff. I want them to like to click like it's on Xbox, like it's on PlayStation and stuff. You click on create guest, so the saves are gonna go on that guest account, and they're not gonna use my saves on my games and stuff. And
you think that's gonna happen though? You really think that's realistic for?
No,
I think Facebook are not gonna.
And I think that it's a big problem, because we need something that like you don't always have people willing to give you like accounts, and why should I give him my Facebook account, to be honest, to like a friend that just to play a game, it doesn't make sense. So it makes sense to have just a guest. You create a guest account, blah, and when you share your headset with somebody and stuff. If you have more headsets though at home, like I think we all do. Like I think like I'm okay limiting a little, because there will be like the devs are not getting money for the games, of course. Like in a case like a Population 1, like it's okay to like I buy my game, you buy your game, and we play together. Like instead, Rec Room is free, everyone can play together no matter what. But with Xbox, what happens with Xbox, what happens with PlayStation, that for me is a very good way, is the fact that you can have a primary account on one, and the other, like I am Tyriel, okay? Zim is the other person, okay? I put my home console, my home quest on the Zim quest, and he puts like his account on mine. So we can both use both of the games every time.
Like Steam account sharing.
Like that's how it works with Steam. That's how it works with Xbox. That's how it works with PlayStation. The cool thing about with PlayStation Xbox is that you can actually play the same games at the same time. Instead of with Steam, you can't.
Yeah, you're neutered. You know what it is? It's the digital equivalent of giving someone a house key. It's like saying, I trust this person. Here's the access to my account. And I think that's kind of fair, because it's almost self-limiting. I would imagine, again, I don't have any numbers or statistics on this, but I would imagine that the span of that spiraling out of control isn't great. It's probably a very, very small problem for the platform owners. The problem here is if they create that guest account, what I would call in technical space like a functional ID, just a ghost, that's not attributed to any individual, no thumbprint on it, they've just created a backdoor to their whole platform, and the whole point where they're tying people down to an account. Because it's like, well, I could just have a primary account with and set up 10 quests that way, and then have 10 real users, or 10 other people using those devices without any tracking, without any kind of traceability.
They've limited it, so only 3
usually
devices. In the future, they're suggesting.
But they also suggested that could widen, that they could go to more devices than 3.
Potentially more.
So I think it's another one of those things like we all want it, right? The gamers want it because they want the flexibility to do with their device that they purchased and the games that they purchased what they will. I think it's good karma, so to speak, that these companies allow the software licensing part to get that flexibility. My concern is that the spreadsheet for understanding all of this stuff is widening. Like we have cross-buy and cross-play and like we're just focused right now on like the Oculus platform for these parameters. That's just one of multiple platforms. I mean, again, if you're new to the environment, you come in on this. This is getting even more complicated, which is why I look forward to the day, and that's probably a year from now, that this whole problem has been harmonized, streamlined, and it's kind of gone away. The only piece of it that I can't see an answer to, through tokenization, through kind of a simple pass of, okay, here's 100% of my Facebook profile and linkage, and even if I was able to, like you're able to grant, on the web, access to a Facebook or a Google or something account, you can just say, okay, they'll see my email address and they'll see, small bits and pieces like a handshake. if you could do that on the device, is that an answer? Again, not really, because the traceability factor is going to be there. They're going to be able to tell, for example, it's you. And someone might not feel like, if they're just, over your house for a moment, T, that they're going to want to log into your device, like you said. So I don't see an answer to that problem. And I suspect that we won't.
Well, but we have an answer
for
already
me, like the biggest...
every gaming company, Like, there's already an
like
answer.
just a guest
like
account?
They work. Yeah.
Well,
Xbox works, and they're doing it from like Xbox Live in 2006. When was it? Like a PlayStation, same thing. They're doing it with PlayStation Plus. Steam is doing it since forever. Like, they already have examples. The problem they are creating, for me, a problem on the problem, because they want to gather data, because it's Facebook. So how do I, what do I do with this, with that, with that? And so they are creating more problems because they have their stuff on the other side, because this is not an Xbox account.
I think
this is a
problem,
Facebook account. That is you.
Yeah, I think that is exactly the problem with it, because what limits someone from creating a guest account and then playing only on that guest account because they don't want it to be associated with their Facebook account, because that guest account will still be associated with your Facebook account,
exactly.
Right? So
yeah, but that's really their problem. It's not your problem.
I know, but that's their problem, and that's a solution.
Unless it would be a time-limited guest account, maybe that would work. That would be a solution.
Yeah, but I think... also on Xbox, there's like my game tag is Tyriel Wood. If I have a guest, it's Tyriel Wood 1, and then you have Tyriel Wood 2. If I have 2 guests, Tyriel Wood 3. So like you are traceable to like Tyriel Wood, like. So, sorry.
But then your online behavior... No, that does help, because I wasn't thinking about the kind of additional guests, like having a shadow account tied to yours. But it doesn't... if you think about the kind of nexus of data that they're capturing on you, even if you only give them... even if you were only to link them back to your Facebook account for that handshake to say, okay, now I can use Tyriel's headset... they're still going to be able to tell it's Zim, because they're going to know my height, they're going to know how I behave, and within, I think it was 20 seconds, the Facebook Reality Labs, I think we're saying, they can define you as a person, as on that fingerprint, and that traceability is something that I think will make some people nervous. And I wouldn't necessarily want to leave that lingering on your device, Tyriel, so it'll prevent me from wanting to use it. Interesting. It's a really interesting problem, because if you look at it from like a Facebook perspective, you understand. And most of us don't want that, but they want this traceability. We probably don't. We're just like, just let me play with the thing. What's the answer going to be? I can't think of a logical solution to this problem. So,
yeah, someone says in the chat, like, what is your? Sorry, go ahead.
Go on.
I was just reading the chat.
I was going to say for me. The biggest issue for me is just like family members that have got children that are under the age of 13 that can't create a Facebook account. I think that's the biggest problem that poses for family members that want to use a system like this, because obviously you have to be 13. But that's the rules right now. Obviously it could change in the future. It could mold with user feedback.
VR headset? The minimum age for the VR headset now?
13 still, I think.
13, wouldn't it?
Yeah. The trouble. Yeah. So. People have asked this question, like, why 13? So it's this child protection piece, right? And so you have legislation that below that waterline applies, and so they're scooping themselves out of having to deal with that, staying away from that waterline. And actually, I've seen actions already since the start of the new year that I think would make me nervous, and I think other parents who would even allow on a primary account let their kid use it. I've seen certain examples of bans and bricked devices on the back of that. So it's difficult. And I think just like we have a problem, and we've had a problem since really the dawn of the new internet with music licensing, which is still a problem that hasn't gone away and is still like such a pain in the ass. I think this is our new big pain in the ass, that how are we going to allow kids rightly who want to play with a VR device do it, because I think this is going to end up plaguing probably all the platforms.
The simple question is the simple answer is they can't.
Right now they can't.
Line. They're not old enough, and that's the bottom line. It sucks, but it is what it is. I think. But yeah, that is account sharing. Obviously coming to Quest 2 next month. We'll be rolling out to other Quest users of the original Quest in the near future. And like I said, this is going to be probably flexible and will likely change a few times in the future. So we'll monitor it and keep you updated from there. So that is multi-users and app sharing. The final bit of news this week is about a new VR headset purely designed for VR social experiences called Unai. Now, you might remember a few months back, I talked about an open source VR headset that you could 3D print, gather all the parts, and build yourself. And that project was called Relativity. And that was kind of the brainchild of Max Coote. And he came up with the idea when him and his friend wanted to get into VR, but they couldn't afford a headset, so they decided to build their own and then sort of make it open source for everyone else, and provided instructions and the part lists online. And that project was called Relativity. Well, the same guy is now actually planning to produce a VR headset of their own and sell it as a final consumer version called the Unai. Now, the Unai headset is quite unique. It's going to be wireless, connecting to a dedicated streaming box. So it's not going to be a PC-based headset. It's going to be standalone, but with a base station that you have to connect to that is obviously connected to the internet, and that'll do all the processing in the box and send it wirelessly to the headset. The headset features 9 cameras, 7 tracking cameras and 2 pass-through cameras, and will also feature dual microphones. They're currently working on spatial audio, facial tracking, and also full body tracking, and that's kind of like their main goal, because they don't want to sort of just create the hardware, they also want to create this like unique social platform, and hopefully that will run on other headsets as well. Hopefully it's not just tied to this Unai headset, and it will bring other users on board from other platforms, fingers crossed, but we don't know for sure yet. But their ultimate goal is to build a headset and a social VR experience where you feel the presence of being with someone in real life. That's their kind of like mission statement, which is pretty optimistic, I have to say. They're in very early stages right now. They're even recruiting. They're looking for low-level software engineers, electrical engineers, industrial designers, artists, to help them build this kind of vision of an online metaverse. So if you've got any of those skill sets and you're looking for a job, go and check out their website, which is unai.one. This kind of concept of building hardware wrapped around a single social experience is kind of similar to what we've talked about in the past with a headset called the XR Space Manova. I don't know if you guys remember that. Yeah. Kind of developed by a former head of HTC. And that was the same thing. It was like a kind of standalone headset, had this kind of single like social experience that just run on the headset natively, but there wasn't really any other games or apps. So what do you kind of think of this, a headset that's kind of moving away from gaming and is really kind of built just around social?
I think it's gonna have a hard couple of years before it's gonna be any good. And I think, what's the price point gonna be? You know, like entry price point on a social VR headset that's standalone, like, yeah, it's gonna be.
But if your key selling point
experience, right? Like how social is it going to be, and how next level? The thing is, if it's interesting enough, then I think people will like invest in it. But it needs to offer something new to the table. And right at this moment, I don't really know if the market is there for that.
Mm. Yeah,
I think that it's more like a marketing thing, because at the end of the day, you're not gonna stop people play like Steam VR games on it. It's just, you know, like you decide to put a focus on your headset has to be more towards social, so you build everything to be more towards social. But that doesn't mean that you're not going to be able to play Steam VR games and stuff. So if it's at the end of the day a good headset, it's going to be good no matter what. Even if their software is not going to be good, they're still going to be useful.
But I think the issue with this is that, same with the XR Space Manova, is that they don't ship with any controllers. It's just purely based on hand tracking, which kind of limits the experience that you could have with anything connected to Steam then. So I think the concept is interesting. I don't know whether or not it will be a success or not. I think from what we've seen from the XR Space Manova, it was kind of like, we're not quite sure. We'll have to see when we actually try it. But I think it's an easier sell to the general public, maybe wider out there, that this just allows you to remotely connect with your friends and family in a virtual space. And it's kind of like an easier thing to explain maybe than this is like a gaming headset you have to install, like VR chat, you have to set up accounts, blah, 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 blah. Maybe that might be something that works in their favor, but again, it's untested waters, so we don't really know.
Exactly. Like the where this is going, I like the concept. I think we said that before as well. So you're starting off with a focused device. We don't have many focused VR devices right now. With a focused VR device, after a couple of iterations, you'll end up in a position where, target the American audience with this comment, you could pick this up in a Walmart, and it would cost you a couple $100, and it would be just, as you were suggesting, Mike, super slick, right? Put it on, you've already got your account or whatever. Maybe it connects to your mobile or something if it's easier for input. But that's it. The no controllers position is an advantage in that situation. We've seen that already with Quest, where certain applications they just work, right? And so if the hand tracking is even half decent, if the social platform has any merit whatsoever and is stable, is easy to get into, and has something that's a unique selling point, then all you need is a pair of friends or a pair of family members to take that as a benefit. I think the things they're going to have to saw down real fast. These are obviously enthusiasts who are building it. Really obvious from their setup video, from their past. And they've had success, and they're moving forward. And I think they should be congratulated for that. If they're going to continue to drive down this space, I think the number one thing they got to look out for is getting bought up. I honestly think that someone's going to, if they start to see success over the next kind of 2 to 3 years, so this concept being a solely focused, targeted market headset, I think their biggest issue is the bigger fish in the sea who are going to want to say, "Oh, I'll just go eat that up, and that'll become one of my products." So
it also opens up the possibility for some different kind of pricing models for these kind of headsets. Instead of buying a headset like this for the full price from the get-go, maybe it would be more interesting to get for example a 2-year contract to use the platform, and then you pay for example $5 every month for the 2 years to come. And with
that's
that
a good
kind
idea,
of
actually.
pricing
That's a
model,
really
you
good
can
idea.
get a lot of people
you know
in.
what? IOI would love that, Rowdy.
A long time.
Yeah,
I know.
IOI would
some
totally.
some headsets are already doing that, though. Some are already doing that.
The subscription model?
Yeah. There are a telephone company that are doing it.
Oh, they're selling headsets bundled with smartphones. Right.
Yes.
That's a bit different. I think that what Rowdy's saying is bundling the social experience and the headset together and selling it as a monthly subscription. I think it's a smart business model, actually. Yeah. Maybe it's something they'll consider, but it's still very early days for them, of course. But they must have got funding, because obviously they're recruiting quite heavily. So they've got investment, which is good to see. But yeah, it'll just be interesting to see how this plays out. Again, very early days.
This is probably the only time I will say this about a subscription model. But if I was them, I would come out the gates with no full pay the full price for the headset. I would launch only subscription pricing on that headset. Probably 2 or 3 bands of that, but that's it. Maybe even just a single unified band. Here's your price, $10 a month. You get your gear. If you want out of it, then you end up having to pay the rest of it off, just like you would on a mobile contract, right?
But if you don't pay, you can't use it anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, they just shut you off.
Own it.
Yeah, they just shut you off or something. Because the thing is, if they've got investor money that they're running off anyway, they could probably foot the bill for the hardware up front, get it to users, get the platform active and working.
It'd definitely be an interesting business model for sure. Something we've not seen really before.
Yeah, I think it would. I think it would work.
I think it's much smaller than that though. Right now, the project.
This project is smaller.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, they're just starting out. D1 360 VR says he sort of compares it to Deca Gear VR. Obviously, we've talked about Deca Gear in the past, which is also kind of like a social-focused headset, but it does look like that headset will have more versatility, it's aimed to be connected to Steam VR and integrate with VR chat with the face tracking features and stuff like that. This is kind of a bit different, like the Exos-based Manova, like I mentioned. But again, an interesting concept, and I'm glad that people are trying something a bit different, unique. So it'll just be interesting to see how it plays out, and we'll obviously keep you updated on this one in the future. So that is the Unai social VR headset from Max Q and the team over there who did the Relativity project. So now let's talk about CES, because obviously that was the big thing going on. That's what had Tyriel glued to his PC over the last couple of weeks. It's obviously been a very different CES, like we explained at the beginning, because it's completely online. But despite that, there was a lot of interesting VR tech announced at the show by various companies, although, like we said in the beginning, a lot of it wasn't really ready for release. So we didn't see any like hardware release announcements. It was just kind of like concepts or stuff that companies are working on right now. But it is still great to see that so many companies are investing in both VR and AR and creating interesting and new products. So what we decided to do is, because there's so many products that were kind of released or announced at CES, we've decided to kind of like pick one each that we thought was kind of interesting and stood out from the show. And like I said, Tyriel has kind of been tracking CES in detail. He produced 2 excellent YouTube videos going into like super detail on a lot of the tech that was announced. So definitely go and check out those videos if you want to learn more. And we've added a link to his channel in the description down below. And also, obviously, feel free to share your picks from the show in the comments as well, and we can read some of those out. But maybe we should start with Tyriel, being the man of CES. What was kind of like your overall pick, something that kind of really stood out from you from CES this year?
Well, there were many, but many stuff like the Panasonic goggles were very interesting. It's something that there were like very small VR goggles. But I said that I was going to talk about something else. So
sure.
What really interested me of this CES was cereal. There's no cereal. You don't need that.
Breakfast cereal.
And, yes.
Love breakfast cereal. That stuff's great.
It's very interesting company. Is working on new headsets, AR and VR headsets. They come out with these two starting project that are actually headsets that you can already use, but we weren't able to try them because virtual CES. But the interesting thing here is they're using a light field technology. That is something that we heard many times, but we never actually had something tangible to use it. AR and VR are working a lot on light field technology. And what's the particular thing of light field technology is that you're not seeing a screen through just lenses like we do right now, where you have just a plain focus part, but you're going to see the light exactly like you will see the light in reality. So you will see the different part of focus and infinite planes of focus. And like in the camera, let me see if I can show it. Now I'm going to mess up everything I know. But if I change the ring of the focus, as you can see, I can decide where to focus my camera on. You can see the background, or you can go to my face like that. If you are listening to the podcast, you're not seeing it, but I'm changing the focus of my camera. So, so that is the thing. Right now with VR, you can't do it. Everything is on focus all the time. That creates eye strain. That creates problems because it's kind of hard to focus on something particular because everything else is going to be still on focus, even if you don't look just at something. So this new technology really is trying to solve this thing. And it's awesome because if you want a more realistic way to get in VR, a new realistic way to look at your virtual environment and things, that's the solution. Now, the limit of it is the FOV. Right now, we have just 60 degrees of FOV, so it's very limited. And so they have their AR headset that has just 60 degrees of FOV. That we saw worse. The first HoloLens was 40 degrees, so it was really to look through like a postcard. But yeah.
So does both the HoloLens and Magic Leap currently use light field technology right now? No, they don't. Magic Leap has just two planes of focus. So you have the close focus and farther focus. So there's nothing in between. Right. Or you focus on something very close to your eyes, or you can focus on something further away. HoloLens instead using different technology that is waveguides. That is kind of similar, but it uses it's not really a prism, but it kind of a same thing to actually divide the light and then readjust it in front of you. So you have a very similar result. But this one,
is like it interacts in different way for the light. So it's the only one giving like an infinite plane of focus right now. And if you remember from Oculus Connect 6, the latest one, the last one that we attended in person, they were talking about Oculus is working on creating different technology to have different plane of focus, and they're actually using polarization of the lenses, stack 6 lenses at the same time, changing the polarization in each one to arrive at a total of 34 focus plane of focus. That is already something very good, but is not the same thing as infinite. When you turn the focus on a camera, you have infinite positions.
Analog control.
Your eyes has infinite position. You have 32, probably you're never going to realize that they're not infinite because there are many more than just one that we have right now. And we're already immersed in VR with just one. But yeah, very focal.
Like refresh rate, right? You have that like scale, and the closer you go to like that maximum, the less likely that you'll see a difference.
Exactly.
Right?
Yes. And I remember actually when you made on the podcast, you explained everything very well. It was super cool. So watch it again if you didn't see it. The Dr. Rowdy. But yeah, that's very focal. And it's crazy that Oculus is working on something like that for infinite plane of sight, and the scale of the thing was massive, was an entire table with a refraction of lenses and stuff to create an infinite plane. And these guys at Tyriel, they did something in a VR headset. Like it's a little bigger than a regular VR headset, but it's a VR headset. Now, it's just 60 degrees on the AR part one, and 40 degrees on the VR headset. But the interesting thing is they're doing the same thing that Vario is doing. So they're stacking 2 different displays. So you have the display on the back, that is the regular VR display with the resolution of like 1440 by 1600. That we all know that, we're used to use those kind of resolution. And in those 40 degrees in the middle, you actually have the light field technology screen that is just with a resolution of 1000 by 1000, I believe, that covers just 40 degrees of that. So the image will be very crisp, and at the same time, you're going to have the possibility to focus on the object that you have in front of you. So they're trying to put everything together. So it's super interesting. I was super. I just realized that I talked a lot of very nerdy stuff for like
10
to 5
that's cool.
minutes.
No, that's fine.
But
because like I think it's a very complicated subject to describe, because like I looked into myself and it goes way above my head, and the kind of closest thing that I can link it to is kind of like the very focal displays of like the half dome prototype that Oculus showed. But the problem with that was that it had a mechanical shift right in the headset, which then adds weight and bulk and makes it bigger. Whereas this looks a lot sleeker and more streamlined, right?
yes,
but you just have the trade-off with field of view.
Yes. Right now, yes. I don't want to sponsor anything, but I actually, because I studied a lot of this stuff, and I made a video in the past about like the old Oculus, like how they progress in technology to get to the screens today and what you're gonna see in the future with the very focal and stuff. There's that. I made a video. In that video, I talk about the half dome and the technology there, how they went to the very focal without actually moving the lenses, because they already have that. But then there's like this big table to see the refraction to create like light field technology and stuff. So like I kind of studied everything because there was an amazing presentation from an Oculus engineer about all this technology and stuff. So I try to compress in 10 minutes.
Sure.
I usually make videos so I can start to forget this stuff. So it doesn't apply too much on my brain. But it's super interesting. It's like technology there is amazing.
Yeah. Oh. So this will allow us to look in a VR display similar to the way our eyes work naturally, right? So we can adjust our focus
it will solve
on
a part
objects
of that
are
problem.
closer or
yes.
Yeah.
because with eyes you have like indeed like because like what Tyriel highlighted very well is like they call it like the convergence problem,
and
where
the
you have
accommodance.
and accommodance indeed. So you have like the way that light hits your eyes. That's the way that we see basically, is by light hitting our eyeballs. But that light comes from different sources. Actually, a reflection that we see. We always see reflections of light, and we get closer to that kind of technology by having that light field kind of technology, or by having those varifocal planes, because you have different planes of focus, which means that you will have different points where the light will be reflected from, or in the case of a screen will be shown from, which solves that problem.
Yeah, because right now, like your eyes are like, when you focus on something close, your eyes do like this. Okay. In VR, if you're focusing on something close, they don't do that because the distance of display is fixed.
Right.
So there's the paradox of like convergence and accommodance, that you have to have both together. Right now, VR just have accommodance and not convergence. A light field technology, as Rowdy was saying, will be able to have both, and to solve this problem.
Yeah, it's actually
in
an interesting.
ultra layman's terms, it's just going to look really, really cool.
But like this is a problem that I ran across early on. Like when I was playing a lot of driving games in my DK2 and stuff, I found my eyes would naturally relax to a position. It was really bizarre, and I found it was affecting me even on the road, where my eyes had gotten accustomed to kind of just relaxing to a certain focal. I'll call it like, it's kind of like a resting point, right? And it was the equivalent of like 4 or 5 car lengths out when I was in real driving terms. And I'd noticed that the car right in front of me, or the car 2 lengths in front of me, would go that hair blurry. And it was like, what's going on? Because this hadn't happened before. And it was because I was doing hundreds of hours in Euro Truck Simulator and Assetto and things like that, and it was just my eyes were getting accustomed to that. But this will be the first time after 6-7 years when they make a change.
What that is likely is probably a weakening of the muscles that pull on the lenses in order to get that new focus.
Is that because it's not shifting focus enough?
Yeah.
So, but that's
also why a lot of people start wearing glasses, because they're always looking at a computer screen, because those eyes, basically, they don't get tired, they just get lazy, because those muscles that you do in order to focus at different points of view, they're not constantly pulling, and they get lazy.
So the other question I have for Tyriel then is that, does this rely on eye tracking technology, or is this just it's just magic?
Yeah.
Okay.
Engineers of the world.
That's fine.
That's the interesting part, because like it doesn't rely on eye tracking to like understand, because if you're when you're gonna see something from Oculus, if we see the varifocal with a different polarization, that would probably rely on eye tracking, because it needs to understand where you're looking at. With the light field technology, it's like, imagine it exactly like looking at the real world. That's what they're accomplishing. So like, you're not gonna need it. And the thing that is hard to transmit, why it's so important, because you say like, oh, but I already have a good experience with my Quest 2 right now, right? Like nobody complains and stuff, because it's not really, as Rowdy was saying, it's not really about like just seeing for like an hour or 2 hours, you're completely fine. But if we are moving toward the future, when we're going to be able, and we're going to need maybe to stay in VR for longer sessions each day to work in VR or stuff, with this technology that we have right now, we're going to go blind like in 10 years. Okay. So like, so it's something that we are like, light field is the future of the screen technology, because it's the only way to represent things exactly like they are in reality. So It's something that you don't know that you want, but you actually want.
Yeah. So this is like a whole new generation of like VR, the future of VR headsets, right?
Mm-hmm. And do you know why there is a limitation of field of view? What is causing that limitation? Is it just the price of the display, or is it another technological?
It's a space. It's about space, how big you can make it. Also. That's why the VR one is less, because they have to, cramp more stuff inside. Yeah, okay. Yes, but it's also with the lenses. It's hard to display things on the lenses and cover the entire thing, because more you scratch it, less you lose a lot of resolution. And so these light field technology screens already have a problem that the resolution is lower. So it doesn't look that crisp, but it looks correct. That's the thing.
Right. Okay.
So they really have to solve many different. We are at the beginning of this technology, but they already said that in 3 years they should arrive to have 110 degrees of FOV. So
Nice.
it's just they have to evolve with the technology.
It's just a shame that we can't attend these events to actually try them, because I think trying them would be like the proof in the pudding, right? You can talk about it all day, but when you actually try it and it all clicks together, then your mind is completely blown.
Yes.
But of course, that was CES, right? With their light field technology
CES.
display.
You
and
can't
again,
buy it.
Right. It's just prototype right now.
They are starting to distribute it. It's the first version, but it's just for, again, business enterprise or who wants to work on it. And then in the future, in 3 years, they're going to start to change maybe the production, but it's not for us.
No.
Okay.
It's something that we're going to hear a lot from all of us probably during the CES
that's
roundup.
Yeah. So maybe we should pass it on to someone else. Anyone wants to take the next step?
I'll go. Sure, why not?
Okay.
All right. So what I picked up, I've got an affinity. There's actually two products I'm going to show. One VR, one non-VR, because there's something I saw in CES, and you guys have to see it. I'll be very quick on both. So the first one, as I'm a fan of what used to be ThinkPad laptops, is the FReality A3. Which are essentially enterprise smart glasses. This is like the second one. Last year they actually released the A6. Why they're going backwards, I haven't been able to answer that question. But these are meant to be a more versatile smart glass than what we've seen before from them. So this is from Lenovo. They actually bought up that part of IBM in the past who actually used to do the ThinkPad piece. And this is tagged as FReality. The cool thing about these displays is they're wearable, lightweight frame glasses. Look like a kind of a reduced version of a HoloLens. And their primary focus is really to give you a virtualized desktop. So it's an AR headset essentially that you wear. It's corded, connects via USB-C, pops into your laptop, and boom, instead of one screen, you've got, 4 or 5 screens. So that's the thing that, for me, Rowdy and I have been going on about this on the podcast for quite a while, as we're both people who, sit in front of the PC and use it for work reasons. I would love to eventually be convinced to work in either VR or AR for the day. I haven't yet come across a kind of a satisfying user experience. These are starting to approach the form factor that I would appreciate. And the thing that I still can't stand about Microsoft Windows is that it still limits you. We were talking about this pre-podcast. Virtual displays versus actual displays is still a problem. You actually have to do some work, sometimes with hardware, to trick it if you want, extra monitors in your VR setup. So until Microsoft have sorted that problem, it looks like we've got a nice little leapfrog here from Lenovo coming out with a lightweight frame pair of AR glasses. Now, when this is available, I don't know, but there is the availability. Lenovo give you the option to sign up for Let Me Know on their website. So go look out for the FReality A3 if you want to hear about them. That said, these are targeted at enterprise. I'm not expecting them to be cheap or consumer targeted. This is something more for the workforce. But again, I think it's another good seed that we're going to see turn into a beautiful blossomed bush at some stage. So,
how much would you pay for it?
I'd pay a couple hundred. If it was 200, 300, 400 and was actually convincing, I'd pay 400 for it. 400 pounds, that is. So $500. Yeah.
If it could completely replace my workstation and my workflow, I'd easily pay double that. I'll pay up to 800 to 1,000 for getting something like that. If it can, but then it needs to be proper and good. Yeah. I don't want something that I go like, like I'm just gonna go back to the PC.
Yeah, if you can read documents, emails, messages, all that kind of thing in good clarity, let's say Quest 2 level clarity, and you can work. The premise of this thing is you can work anywhere. You could just take your laptop to the bedroom, sit down there, work on a plane, with the displays surrounding you. That's really awesome. So I'd love to see that. The other thing is, because it's an AR headset, it would need to have enough field of view that you could at least see one or multiple displays. I mean, you're gonna have to turn your head. That's gonna be necessary, right? You can't just like look to the side and expect to see it because the limited FOV in an AR headset. But I wouldn't want it to be cropping down whatever I was looking at to 50% or 75%. I wouldn't touch the thing then. So it's got to be convincing.
Well, probably it's covering the entire. I expect that at least you can see the entire monitor in front of you.
Yeah.
Because it will be weird if you can just see a section of the monitor.
Oh, that would be horrible as well. Yeah.
But like what they show, I mean, the audio listeners
see,
don't mention this. They didn't mention. They wouldn't know this because they didn't see the trailer. But they are showing like 5 different heads-up displays with this headset connected to a single display laptop. So unless you're getting one display turned into multiple, then I'm kind of not interested. But then you have to have some level. This is what I don't understand is, how does the operating system deal with that? Are you like taking, for example, you got Microsoft Word open, Microsoft Excel open. Can you then pin them to these virtual displays, but on your native desktop, they don't even show up? There must be some software that does that interpolation.
I'm pretty sure you can move, like, because it's an AR headset and has actually proper tracking and stuff. It's not just to have, like, you're not just going to have monitors in front of you, but you're going to be able to track the environment and put monitors in the different environment,
like Minority Report level, you're saying, and
exactly.
That's what they demonstrate in one of their videos as well.
So you have your monitor in front. You want to have the second and third screen on the left and the right. You can have it. You want to have it on top. You can have it. You want to have it behind. You can have it. I think because they're collaborating with Microsoft, probably there's something with Windows Mixed Reality going on. At the end, if you think about it, HoloLens, Windows Mixed Reality already do this stuff. You can put like your monitor in there. The only difference is like you're not in the lighthouse. No, not lighthouse. The cliff house. But you are.
Oh God.
You are like in your actual house. But the software there kind of work for what you have to do maybe. So I expect to use that. I have to say that I tried these kind of glasses, similar, without tracking though, with 4K displays, and I was like super impressed because the resolution was actually enough to be able to work on them. The problem with the one I had, that were the God views and stuff that they sent over, is the fact that the focus was too close, so it was really like having my smartphone at this distance. So my eyes were crossing the entire time, and that wasn't good. But the resolution was like absolutely perfect. It was actually higher than the resolution of my real screen. So I really wanted to use them, but I couldn't for long sessions. And if these can get to that point, I think the resolution there is lower though. I think there are 1080p displays. But if it works, I'm willing to pay, $700-800, because if you consider it, like instead of buying 4 monitors that would cost that amount of money, you buy one thing and it's even portable.
But we know that Apple are going to launch their own, right? And it's going to be double that, and I think that's when AR will be revolutionized, when they can condense it into like a product that people are actually going to feel is a fashionable item to wear as well as being a functional tool. I think that's the key.
Me and Rowdy, we disagree.
When that will happen,
See first, then believe.
Android boy. Mike's outnumbered. I wanted to touch on one other thing that I saw on CES, which will be really short and simple. But having watched that film Spree, the thing that caught my eye was this new flying Cadillac. So GM, General Motors, showed off one of their what's called an eVTOL, so electrical vertical takeoff and landing system, or air taxi. So what this is, and having just seen the film Spree that we mentioned earlier that talks about ride-share services like Uber, is, for a single passenger, something that looks like one of those drones, but it's designed to carry you. So where today there's like a street bike solution and you go and hop on a bike and you rent it and you go from A to B, in the future, General Motors hopes to bring this concept to reality for an air taxi, where you hop in it, and just like your favorite episode of Black Mirror, it'll take you from A to B and hopefully not vehicular homicide you on the way. But anyway, it seems like...
I was thinking just about that, like, what if your battery dies like mid-flight or something?
They show it going over skyscrapers and stuff, and I thought, that's freaking nuts. You'd never pay me to do that, but...
It reminds me of, like, Total Recall, when he gets into the cab. Oh, my God.
Yeah, it's a bit of a scary concept. But, again, having just watched Spree, which is about a rideshare guy who goes on a killing spree, killing his passengers, jumping in with an automated robot seems a little bit like a warm welcome. So anyway, I just thought I'd tease that in there for anyone who didn't catch CES themselves.
Nice. So my pick this year was like an AI modular robot developed by a French company called Pollen Robotics, and this is a product called Reachy. It kind of reminded me of like when we talked to Zim about that Chernobyl experience that he did, where he like remotely controlled a robot that was kind of like moving around and he could like control its little arms and stuff. And also kind of links in with what I've been messing around with Shadow PC, like remote control access. And basically the idea is that you've got this cute looking robot called Reachy who could be remotely controlled with a VR headset. So as the robot has two eyes for cameras, you can look through them using a VR headset in stereo 3D in real time, and then control the arms using VR motion controllers, offering you this kind of like telepresence experience. Kind of got me thinking, like if the world continues the way it's going, I might just need one of these just to get my groceries from the shop. But I do think it's got some interesting use cases, like remote presence and this kind of technology is going to obviously evolve over time. But if you think about it, like in even like basic use cases like caring for elderly, for example, like if you could have a carer that's remotely logging into carer robots that are located in elderly people's homes, they could look after them, do sort of tasks and stuff like that. It's kind of like an interesting concept, and I'm sure the use cases are endless, but that was the kind of thing that kind of stood out for me. It looked a bit like the Jetsons or something like that, like we're living in this future that we're controlling robots with VR headsets. So that was kind of the thing that kind of popped out in my mind.
It looks like awesome, another start of another like another Black Mirror episode.
Black Mirror episode, yeah.
These care robots just smothering patients or whatever because they got a bad directive, or I mean, the name by itself. I'm sorry, I have to go down the adult rabbit hole here, but Reachy is not a great name. I mean, immediately I'm asking the robot, "Hey, can you give me a quick reach around there, buddy?" I mean, it's just like I don't know. Reachy's a dodgy name.
Specifically made for that, right?
It's a great pick, though, Mike. I love that you picked this one. It's like it's kind of adorable in its own way. I mean, if you combine this with like Boston Robotics, those dogs and stuff, holy cow, you could be kicking ass. You know what I mean? Because this guy looks like pretty. He's like a little French sailor or something. But those things are killing machines. So
there's actually a movie with Bruce Willis. It was like The Word of Replicants, something like that.
Oh.
It's actually about this stuff. Like, so humans, they don't go around anymore because it's too dangerous, but every person has their own real avatar, his own robot that looks exactly like they want. And
was it called surrogates?
Surrogates, yeah, sorry, yes. And they go around, so like, if you die in a car accident, you actually don't die, but you just buy a new one. And like people are all in their bed in the house, and everyone has his own like a real avatar in the real world, and it's controlled with VR. It's crazy.
Kind of like how we're living now, except with the robots.
Yeah. Exactly.
We're living now.
This might actually be inevitable. Like our future might be this way. Unfortunately,
it doesn't sound that bad anymore.
Yeah, the kind of story that you're selling is kind of like an improvement of the situation that we have now.
I could go to a nightclub. Yeah, that would be amazing.
Isn't this what we were joking? We were saying that we were going to attend, the next year's Oculus Connect equivalent, like all the robots.
Presence robots.
Oh my God.
With Reachy.
That might actually be
with
true.
Reachy. Hey, I'm happy.
Yeah. There's just like tens of thousands of them, and then they just give like the attendees logins for them all. That'd be epic. At least that would solve partly the problem. But go on then, Rowdy. What was your pick? What was your pick?
Yeah,
from
it
CES?
actually is. It's nice that you picked something out of like the telerobotics kind of field, because I actually was in the same thing. Because the only thing that this robot is kind of missing for telerobotics, at least, is fine motor control. Especially if you say like, taking care of the elderly and that kind of stuff. A lot of that stuff still requires a lot of like fine hand control. So the thing that I actually picked was the Sense gloves. I think I have a feeling that we already talked about this one time, but that was the older model where like Zim was like freaked out that they would like flip back, because the older model has those kind of tendons that on there. So the older model had it was mainly aimed for like telerobotics and haptics research, but they also had like kind of like a corporate and a software development use case. But they were of course not for really like a consumer kind of level. They did have quite a lot of like power, these gloves, because they went up to 40 newtons. And the main goal of that was to give digital objects like a real hand presence. And these new ones, they're called the Sense Glove Nova. So they have 20 newtons, which is still like quite a bit. And they also are aimed to like give digital objects like real hand presence. So they show in the video, for example, that they have like this little ball that they like squish, and you get actually force feedback that gives you the idea of like that you're holding something. And if you think about that, that's Facebook has already said that a couple of times, that like your hands are the ultimate controllers. Like ultimately, what we want to go to is get rid of these kind of controllers and actually use like virtual controls. If you pick up a sword, that it feels in your hand like you're holding a sword, or if you pick up a gun, that it feels like you're holding a gun, or if you reach for a door, or like whatever. Now, I don't think these gloves are there yet, because I think the original model, because they really had like, I think they had 6 different vibration actuators would let you experience like collisions and button clicks and different kind of textures even. And they would also be that on the correct locations in your hand. So whether it be in your fingertips or in the palm of your hand. So they had that, that really like a lot of degrees of freedom as well for the motion tracking. I believe 24 degrees for the previous model. Well, this one is a little bit more aimed at, I would say like VR training. So they have a single embedded voice coil actuator that also allows the feeling of realistic button clicks and impact simulations, which is mainly crucial, they say, for like virtual reality training with different kind of tools and different kinds of dashboards. And they also offer sensor-based finger tracking, both with computer vision, hand tracking algorithms. And they specifically say that they are partnering up with Pico Neo, or that they have like, the Pico Neo as an example, where you don't need any other external tracking devices. So the device will just work on its own, completely wireless, together with the Pico Neo. And they also mentioned that more headsets will follow soon.
Mm-hmm. I love that chat's asking now, when's it compatible with Quest? Looks like a souped up power glove. I am way more comfortable with this form factor than the previous one, which looked like it was out of Saw or something. This is much better.
Tyriel's got the Dexmo there.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah, that's the one I've tried. And so many people asked.
You tried this, right? Mike, you made a video about it.
Yeah.
The idea is similar, but they use instead little strings to pull your fingers. Yeah.
Could you pretend like it's grabbing your face right now and you have no control over it?
But that's the biggest comment on my video was that like, how is it going to like stop from like bending your fingers back and breaking them? But they physically can't go back that far.
This is
They're
the
restricted.
maximum they can do. Yeah.
That was not the case on the Alpha model. The Alpha model could have gone haywire.
The finger breaker.
The finger breaker. Yeah,
the
absolutely.
internal code name. But yeah, like, are you playing around with Dexmo at the moment? You're going to make a video on those, Tyriel?
I have them for a while. I still have to to try them. I just put them on sometimes just because they feel cool.
They look and feel awesome when you wear them.
They look incredible. But I didn't try them yet with the software. I need to do it, and then I will make a video about it, of course. But yeah, I still have to try them.
The video I want to see is I want you to go in like a white lab coat down to your local supermarket, right? And just be picking fruit and putting it into a basket, wearing GoPros and stuff so that we can catch people's reactions. Because I think people would look at you like, the heck is that? It'd be so cool. Because it even makes a sound. Can you get that close to your mic?
Yeah. You can hear the motors whirring when you move it.
Yeah, it's interesting. So wait, does it carry a battery or something? Is it battery charged?
It's got a battery built into it.
Battery built into it. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, and it lights up a really cool blue color as well when you turn it on. It's really, really smart. I really love mine. I had to send them back though. They're very expensive.
But yeah, the idea is similar, and I love like all these companies doing it. SenseGlove is like around $5,000.
I don't know the exact prices of them. I know that the original one is like definitely not a consumer product, but I do have the feeling that with this that they're aiming to go more in like a consumer model, something that is a little bit more affordable and cost effective. I don't know what the exact price was. I didn't look that up. I just thought they look cool, and I do think that there's a big future in virtual reality, specifically for haptics. I do hope that like in the coming years that we see more of these kind of devices, and hopefully something coming from like a bigger company like Facebook or Google or Apple or whatever it is, to see more of these kind of devices being developed to interact with a digital or an augmented reality.
It's I actually talked with them about the gloves, because if you notice in the SenseGlove, you don't have the pinky, you don't have any like just four fingers are covered. So I asked why, and they said that with the DK1, they were doing tests and stuff, and they noticed that nobody ever used or noticed the pinky even when it was disabled. They were actually disabling and enable it, and nobody ever realized that there was feedback on it. So they said,
what you're
like,
saying is I can just cut this off right now and I will never notice it for the rest of my life. It's an interesting
exactly. You should try now.
I don't
live.
believe that, but
in the way when
explaining these kind of things when they haven't implemented it.
No, they say like when you grab something, there is more like to stabilize the pinky. It doesn't really use force on it. So they were saying nobody ever realized that it was off, and so it was easier to make it with just 4 fingers.
I thought you was going to tell me that the whole dev team like broke all their pinky fingers off using their original prototype.
Like in Assassin's Creed, like the first one, they cut the finger to have the.
What if you want to like order a beer? Like you can't do that with the Sense gloves.
You can't do it.
No.
Yeah, you can.
Call me. Yeah.
So they're our top picks from CES 2021. Like I say, they're all kind of prototype technologies. Nothing's really coming consumer ready just yet. We did also see Panasonic. I just want to give them a quick mention, as they've used, they've got these kind of VR goggle glasses that they showed also at CES last year. Again, they're not really any closer, I don't think, to a consumer sort of launch date or anything like that. They haven't announced anything like that. They've just sort of released some specs of the headset itself. Also, we don't really know anything about controllers right now, do we, Tyriel? With the Panasonic?
No, we don't know anything about it.
So we don't really know if it's going to be compatible with Steam VR or if it's going to be like, just a viewer. We don't really know just yet. It looks cool nevertheless.
Specs. Yeah,
they added this time like the APD adjustment, they added the integrated audio, and they added the cameras for the tracking. That is the most important thing.
Right.
But yeah, there's still nothing about controllers. They're more considered viewers though. Than proper VR headset,
Yeah.
So they're like 70 degrees of FOV. So.
Yeah. Again, I think it looks awesome. I love the form factor, but it's just whether these will be, good enough for a consumer product that you would want to play games with. I'm not so sure just yet, but again, we'll keep you updated on that.
I mean, for clarity though, they use micro OLED, so they would be amazing.
Is it like 2600 by 2600 by 2600 or something like that?
Yes, and micro OLED, so it's actually like there's no space. Like the pixel, every pixel is 1 micron. Every pixel 1 micron. So
they really look.
There's no much distance between them.
They look like something that you would use. Like in the past, if you ever went to a museum, you had the option to do like an audio tape tour. I think that would be a perfect application for those glasses. In other words, they're not too involved with your face. They're easy on, and they could be just attached to a booth or something. I don't mean be wandering necessarily around as, i.e. they'd be untethered, although at some stage in the future. But even if there was a booth where you're like, oh, I could get immersed into this experience, put them on.
I give you the solution. Plane flight. When you're on the plane, instead of using the little screen. That's it.
Absolutely. Yeah, first class, you get some nice VR goggles.
Oh, well, hopefully they're going to bring it also to economy, because I play economy. I don't know you, but...
Nothing but
that
first class
that was CES anyway. So maybe we should get on to releases, because we've got some interesting stuff coming next week. I'm excited about one of these games in particular, even though I do have some issues with it. I'm excited with it nevertheless.
Interesting. Well, I've actually, so after a little chat, we've said we'd reduce things down. So I've actually only got 2 highlights. It might not be something that I've covered, Mike. If I haven't, I'll let you talk about it. So we'll see. So I've got one that just launched. We talked about this at the start. This is by a studio, or I should say a producer, Atlas V, who I absolutely adore. They did Gloomy Eyes, Ayahuasca, the kind of VR drug trip, and Spheres, which is an amazing thing if you want to see what a black hole looks like in VR. So this title is called Battle Scar. Punk was invented by girls. That's a pretty nifty, catchy title. This is a Quest title. And for $5 or $4.49 in pounds, you can try out this basically 30-minute, 3-part animated VR film series. I like it quite a bit. As I said, I haven't finished it yet. I think Mike dipped into this one as well. And as shown at Sundance and Tribeca, this VR film series is all about punk and this grungy world that they're presented in. I absolutely love the fact that this chops and changes dramatically. Everything from the fonts, the characters, the sizes. They really play with scale. Right out the bats, it's F this, F that. It's a very mature kind of experience, and at the same time, the 2 characters, you get to love them like right out the gates. I think it's a really excellent little experience.
Looks great,
yeah, from a VR animation stance, I think they're even more impressive than things like Gloomy Eyes, because they tend to play with scale in this, and I thought the characterization was a lot stronger. So I didn't feel so much like I was outside the story. I kind of felt inside the story. And there are parts in this as it's playing in front of you. Well, short, it's short and sweet. And I love short and sweet stuff, especially when it's only a $5 in. So those are my top level thoughts about it. There's basically 2 characters in the game. They go about setting a band, and this is set in the 70s. So if you're a fan of animation in VR or punk music at all, this is a badass title. And again, that's called Battle Scar. Mike, what were your thoughts on this, having played it?
Yeah, really enjoyed it. Like, it's just like you say, a short story that you're passive. You don't get involved in it in any way. But they do mess around with scale, and each chapter is delivered in a different and unique and interesting way. They really mix things up, and they try some experimental stuff, which is really, really cool to see in these kind of like immersive short stories. So if this is kind of your bag, you'll definitely get something out of it for sure. Yeah,
and I think in their website, I don't know if you saw that as well, they've got a website that's battlescarfilm.com. That's battlescarfilm.com. As are most kind of artsy websites, incredibly well done. You can find out more about it, see if it's really your thing before you go paying money to watch it.
Do you know how long it is?
It's about 30 minutes. Mike, did you do the
about
whole
30
thing?
minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah, 10 minutes per
10 minutes
chapter.
a segment. Yeah, it's really bite-sized. I think you wouldn't naturally take a break. I think you'd probably just blast through it all in one go.
You just watch them.
And the nice thing is you don't have to play each segment. They just auto-roll into each other. I like when these studios do that. So well done, Atlas V. Another hit out of the park, in my opinion. Next one up, if you want to garrote an old Italian woman, well then, hey, this is your thing. Hitman 3 is finally coming out on the 20th of January. PSVR owners with loads of money are going to be able to afford this one because it's $60, 55 pounds. On the last episode, we spoke at length about Hitman. It's gamepad only support. It's not going to support the Move controllers. The fact that it's on aging PSVR hardware. But if you're wanting a go at another classic IP in VR, and you've got cash to burn, then this is for you. So get your piano wiring, those poor AI people. But when the AI uprising comes, man, you're going to have hell to pay after slaughtering one after the other. So this is another fantastic title. It's from IO Interactive, and 20th of Jan is when that lands on PlayStation. You can pre-order it now.
I don't think that 60 is too much, though.
You don't think that 60 is too much?
It's a full game. It's 60 on every platform, and you also have access to the first one and the second one in VR as well.
Which
So
there's a clarification point there I was going to
you have
mention.
to add them though.
So you have to already own Hitman 1 and 2. In which case, in this new engine, you get them redone in the new version, or you have the option to buy them as DLC in the game.
Yeah. And
I don't have the prices for that. I don't know if anyone else does. Yeah. So we don't know what the total package price is going to be. If you're buying the expensive edition, I'll call it, the extended edition of the game with extra features and stuff, it's about £75. I think it's about $80. So. It's not cheap just for Hitman 3, so I think you're probably going to be pushing past $100 if you get all three of them. But hey, if you like it...
I do think that Tyriel is right. I don't think that the pricing model is off. It's just because I guess that we approach this as a VR game, but this is not really I would say a VR game in a way per se. So I think that's maybe something to keep in mind. VR is kind of a little bit more slapped onto it.
Yeah. Also, we've got a question from Hussein X who asks, "Is Hitman 3 on the Epic Store VR compatible?" And unfortunately, not. The VR compatibility is just for PSVR, and also that's backwards compatibility on PS5, and obviously native compatibility with PSVR on PS4 and PS4 Pro. So if you're interested in buying it on for PSVR, don't buy the PS5 version. Buy the PS4 version because that's compatible with VR, and also you get an upgrade for free to the enhanced PS5 version.
That's just to make it easy.
Yeah. Just to make it super crystal clear for you.
Yeah.
Super simple.
But it's so weird from the trailers that the gameplay also for last week, it really looks like it's using motion controllers. Yeah. I still don't understand because you're not in the game, there's not animations on tapping on the shoulder. So is it a surprise that we're gonna have that we can use motion controllers?
No, so there's tracking. There's tracking of the DS4. The light on the front of the DS4 is tracked. So you have that kind of minimal movement. Very few games on PSVR have featured that. I think Static is probably the best example that comes in mind.
Firewall 0 Hour.
It did. I remember trying it. I think Doom VFR as well.
Maybe you can use 2 DualShocks at the same time.
But I do think some of these animations will be scripted. I don't think it'll be one-to-one controller movements.
It's so weird because it actually looks like someone is playing with motion controllers.
I know.
It looks very cinematic, and I think that's why making content out of this game in VR might be quite fun, and that's what I'm looking forward to the most. But yeah, I'm still just dubious of whether this motion controller support, will ever come, or whether it will just be always tied to this controller, which means that it won't be ported to PC or other platforms.
It's just such a shame that it's not coming to PC because, you have a new game with great graphics. And PSVR is the screen, come on, it's too old. And not being able to use it with a proper VR headset is just it's a shame.
That's the thing that I'm disappointed in the modding community. Why can't we have somebody who's made an interpreter or something that will display from the PlayStation 4 or 5 into another device? You know what I mean? I just want a more
PlayStation Now VR. Is that what you want?
See, the thing is that there is I can't remember the name of it now. There's a Steam VR. There's the opposite. So you can use the PSVR headset.
Ivy.
Yeah. It's horrible. I really didn't like it, but there is something that allows you to use the PC VR games with the PlayStation VR headset. It's not nice, but I'd love it if in the other way you could give yourself a kind of even for a comfort upgrade or whatever. I mean, PSVR as we said is old.
They should just release it natively on PC is what they should do instead of us having to hack it around to make it work.
It will though. We'll see.
They should just implement motion controls. But the thing
Resident Evil never arrived.
Yeah, I was going to say we've wanted this before and it never happened. So I'm not even going to try and get people's hopes up and maybe hope that this might happen. I'm just going to say. It's online. I'll be pleasantly surprised.
Yeah. Anyway, if you're a fan of Blood and Truth, title hitting on PSVR. I do have 2 other things just to mention. I wanted to, for a moment, to the name of a VR Steam bundle that I thought was absolutely just beautiful, which is Onwards into Super Hot Sunshine, which is the 3-way pack, of course, of Onward, Super Hot, and Arizona Sunshine. So you can get those together. It's not a great deal, but if you like guns, tactical animations, slow-mo cinematics, and zombies, then buy those 3 games because all 3 of them are worth playing if you haven't seen them before.
It's not a great deal, but I like the title, so let's see.
This is exactly it. It's very seldom that you get someone putting any kind of effort into these bundle names, so I had to give it to him. Again, that was Onwards into Superhot. Sunshine, available on Steam VR. Another little PC VR tip. So a while back, this is going back months, if not years, we learned that Tetris Effect would have an update that would come called Connected, which would bring multiplayer. This is really neat, and this shocked me. Apparently, this has been available for, I think, about a month and a half now. A good friend of mine has tried this out. But via Game Pass, you can get Tetris Effect Connected. And Steam VR picks it up. So you can play multiplayer Tetris Effect with Tetris Effect Connected via Game Pass using a Steam VR headset. Tetris Effect, for those of you who might not know what it is not just standard old Tetris. Imagine you were playing Tetris in like a 1990s nightclub. Absolutely surrounded with wonderful music, and now friends or enemies from the internet playing Tetris together with Tetris Effect Connected. That's Game Pass and Steam VR. If you wanted that name,
do you connect it to Steam VR?
So it will recognize it. Actually, if you have the game on Game Pass, it will pick up through your Steam VR connected headset, and you will be able to play it.
So you open Steam VR and then you open Tetris.
I think it's the other way around. I think you launch you launch the Game Pass edition of Tetris Effect, and then it will recognize your Steam VR connected headset in that way. Tyriel's going to try this now live, it looks like. He's like, I'm going to go see if this works.
I'm going to go do it.
That was like such a pro tip. That's really cool.
Nice little trick, though.
I thought that was really neat, because like we're not getting that another way. I want that to come to, let's say, the Quest build, but we'll have to wait and see if it actually ends up.
Because right now is an exclusive for Xbox for a period, for like a year, so that's why probably.
Yeah, exactly. So it's limited for the moment. So hey, if you got Game Pass, or if you don't have Game Pass, go try their trial out. What's up?
All right. Let's see.
He's doing it right here live for us on the podcast. All right. That name of that other title, by the way, if you wanted to go and look it up, if you're a Quest owner, was Battle Scar. Punk was invented by girls. And of course, look out for Hitman, launching in a couple of days.
Yeah, we'll be talking about our thoughts on that next week, without doubt. I've got it pre-ordered, so it's going to arrive on Wednesday, and no doubt I'll do a video on it this week as well. So yeah, looking forward to that. So let's wrap up the show then. Apologies for my microphone audio. Again, it's something out of my control. It's not on the local recording, so at least the audio version will be okay if you want to go back and listen to that. But just a reminder, this is a weekly VR, AR, and MR talk show, live streamed every Saturday on YouTube and on Twitch. The show goes live at 7 p.m. in Europe, 6 p.m. in the UK, and 12 midday in Central US. You can also check out the audio version, which is available on iTunes, SoundCloud, and on Spotify. If you've enjoyed the show, hit the like button and subscribe for all our future podcasts. And yeah, I just want to say thanks again to Tyriel for joining us and standing in for Nathie this week, who's currently on holiday.
Thanks so much for having me.
A pleasure to hang out with you and talk VR and stuff with you. And it's a shame that we didn't get to do that in real life this year, but you know, fingers crossed for the future. If not, we can just do it via a telepresence robot instead.
We're reaching.
So yeah, Thank you very much for joining us. Take care, and we'll see you on next week's show. So bye-bye for now.
Thank you.
See you later.
Good night, everybody.
Ciao.
Cheers.